and she's currently out getting some much needed information, education to bring back to us whenever she's finished with the conference. So we are excited for her and to get that information back when she comes. But for today, it is me talking to Amanda, our amazing grants coordinator. And first, we're going to kind of get down to some local business around here, what we're currently doing and up to at Alzheimer's Arkansas. We want to announce the huge save the date for the Little Rock Hope for the Future Caregiver Workshop. It is Thursday, July 21st of this year, and we cannot wait to see all our caregivers and give them the education and opportunities to talk to other caregivers as well as professionals and kind of help them along their journey. We also have every month, we have Let's Talk, of course, and we have Lunch and Learns now. We have the Luncheons Learns in Little Rock, Hot Springs, and Conway. They're every Wednesday for 3 weeks. And so every time we have a different presenter and lunch for all our caregivers and their families. So you guys come and learn and get questions and ask questions and get information from local people who can help you through your journey as well. And of course, we always have coffee with Carolyn and Gigi. It is a online support group. Not everyone can get out the house, and we really understand that a lot of caregivers actually don't have the time. So it's one of those things you could just jump on as needed, speak to us, ask if you say some questions, listen to other people. But then also, if you're not able to join, you could always call us, and we could help you as well. So we already have the dates for the Little Rock Walk. It's in September 23rd this year. We have the H2Go coming up in July 23rd. So you can register now online or through a link on our Facebook page. And then we have our 2022 champions, where we celebrate all of the wonderful people who have donated their time, their efforts, and their funds to us to help you guys, help our family caregivers. So now we are going to get started with talking to Amanda Shaw, our grants coordinator, and she can kind of take us through why respite is important, and also all the great things about our caregiver grants and how you can use them and how you can apply for them and the information that you need. So Amanda,
yay! So whenever I'm talking about grants, typically the first thing that comes up is what can these grants be used for, and more importantly, why is it so important that caregivers get this respite? And for your caregiver, we work with caregivers every day. Like, we know, they just need a break.
yes.
And sometimes they can't afford to have someone come in to help them. And there's all kinds of statistics and science out there about how caregivers, when they don't care for themselves, they cannot give 100% to their loved ones, and oftentimes end up having more health complications than the person that they're caring for, because of all the stress and just the mental and physical toll that being a caregiver has on them. So one of the things that all of our grants can be used for is respite. And that's the caregiver hiring someone to come in to give them that mental and physical break that they all just kind of so desperately need. And I'll kind of go over today a couple of the grants that we have open right now, but we'll also kind of go through just the whole grant cycle, some things that we put in place to make it an easy process for everyone, and then kind of go over a little bit of the details and all that. And of course, all of this information can be found on our website, or what I tell just about everyone is just have caregivers call me, email me, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions that they have, and we can go into a little bit more detail of their specific situation and kind of figure out which grant is best for them, and which ones that they may be eligible for, because it can be a lot of information all at once. So the first grant that we are going to talk about is our grant that just came open, our DHS Lifespan Respite Grant. And this is the grant information that's under the green chart here, the DHS Lifespan Respite Grant. And this one just opened this month. It's very limited. So I tell all of our providers, social workers, if you know a family that can benefit from this grant, submit the application ASAP. These funds are super limited, and we want to make sure that they are getting out to the families that need them most, especially those that may not be eligible for other grants that we offer. So I'm going to kind of go over just the details of this one, and then kind of go over just all of the overall process of applying, because we have put a lot of things in place to make it as simple and streamlined as possible for caregivers to find out about this money, receive this money, and be able to use it quickly. So DHS Lifespan Respite. This is a $250 grant that caregivers can apply for once in a calendar year. The calendar year for this grant is January to December. So the funds, they just opened this month, and caregivers that are able to receive this grant this year will be eligible to reapply for it again next year. This grant is awesome because the patient can be any age and live anywhere in the state of Arkansas. So that means, your loved one doesn't have to be 80 years old with dementia. It can be a child that has any kind of special need or chronic illness.
So any diagnosis at all.
Any special need, chronic illness that requires some kind of caregiver assistance or daily help is all that it needs. So so it really it's lifespan for a reason. It covers anyone from a year to 100 years old. So so just about everybody is eligible for this one. All of our grants require a doctor's diagnosis of a chronic illness for this one specifically, or a special need. The diagnosis has to be on doctor's letterhead or prescription pad, and it just has to be signed by the doctor. And it's as simple as 2 sentences. So-and-so has been diagnosed with blank and requires daily help. That's literally all it has to say. Caregivers just submit that with their application. Oftentimes it's easier to get that diagnosis if they don't have it on hand already, just by calling their doctor's office, requesting it. And oftentimes the doctor's office will just fax it right over to me. And the application can be sent in separately. Whenever I have both, I put them together, and the application's then processed. So it's so super easy. And I'm sure doctors' offices are very familiar with getting these things sent to, just different organizations, just depending on your needs. So super easy for most to get that diagnosis turned in. Once the application and the diagnosis is submitted, the applications are processed within 10 business days. There's multiple hands kind of go into the entire grant process, and we work very, very hard to get these applications and the checks out within 10 business days. I always will tell caregivers, if you don't hear from me, you don't get something in the mail within that 10 business days, call me. Oftentimes something is either lost in the mail, or just for whatever reason, I didn't get it. So we really work super hard to make sure that caregivers aren't waiting in limbo for any extended period of time. If they don't hear something, contact me, and it's usually something that we can clear up pretty quickly. This grant in particular, the check is paid with the approval letter. So within that 10 business days, you'll receive an approval letter that lets you know exactly how to use the grant. And it'll also have the check for $250, and it'll also include a respite log. And on that respite log is just where you'll notate the dates and times and the name of the person that you hired. You sign and date it, send it back to me, and that's it. Your grant is closed out, and at that point you would be eligible to apply for another grant if we have one that's open and available to apply for. And
what if they don't send back the respite log?
I'm sorry?
What if the respite log was never sent back? What happens then? Are they able to apply for another grant, or?
So if I don't, so we initially give caregivers 90 days to use their grant. If for whatever reason I don't receive that log back within that 90 days, I send out a reminder saying, your log was due back by this date. We haven't received it. Here's another log. Please fill it out, send it in. And once I receive this, you'll be eligible for other grants within our organization. So I do send a reminder to everybody. If for whatever reason it's still not turned in after that, unfortunately, caregivers cannot apply for another grant until I receive that log. So if we get to a point like that, which happens occasionally, all I have to do is just send the caregiver that log, have them fill it out, send it back to me, and then we can move forward with another grant application. So it's basically just communicating with me, and I can get you what you need, and we can move forward. So yeah, super. We keep caregivers kind of in the loop every step of the way, and so it's typically not an issue. But if it does, just communicate with me. I'll get you what you need. So that's kind of the basics for the DHS grant. The next grant that I'm going to talk about is our CareLink Caregiver Support Grant, and this is the information under the red CareLink Caregiver Support Grant information. And this grant is a $500 grant, and caregivers can apply for this one twice a calendar year with 6 months in between their approval dates. So this grant is, the overall process is pretty similar to DHS, but how it's paid out is going to be a little bit different. But this one does come with eligibility, more stricter eligibility requirements. These funds can only be used for patients that are over the age of 60, and the patients do have to live in one of the central Arkansas counties. So that includes Pulaski, Faulkner, Saline, Prairie, Monroe, and Lonoke counties. This one requires a diagnosis of any chronic illness that requires a caregiver with the same diagnosis guidelines, dated within the past 12 months, on doctor's letterhead or prescription pad, and signed by the doctor. This grant can only be used for respite care, and the patient or the caregiver can hire anyone that they know personally, or any professional caregivers. So if your loved one is in a place where they need professional help while you're away, caregivers can go that route. If their loved one is more comfortable with someone that they know personally, that's fine as well. Anyone that's over the age of 18 that doesn't live with the patient can be hired to provide that respite for caregivers. And oftentimes, hiring someone that you know personally rather than through a professional company, caregivers can really get that $500 to stretch a little bit further. So we like that we're able to give caregivers that option. This application is processed in the same 10 business days as all the other grants. And the difference with this one is that the funds are not paid up front. These funds are paid more on a reimbursement basis. And so when a caregiver receives their approval letter, they will also get a respite log. And that log can be filled out with the dates, times, and the name of the person that they hired. They'll indicate on that log if I am paying the caregiver as a reimbursement for services that they already paid for, or I can send that payment directly to the person that they hired, and they'll indicate on that log who I'm paying and how much I'm paying them. If a caregiver decides to go the professional caregiving route, I can pay invoices directly. So instead of submitting that log, all they have to do is instruct the company that they're using to send me the invoices, and I will get them processed, and the payment sent directly out to that provider. Respite logs and invoices are paid within 15 business days, so it's a pretty quick turnaround for that as well. And if they are using someone that they know personally, that log just has to be submitted with a photocopy of the ID of the person that they used. And that's just to verify that it's an actual person and that they don't live in the same home as the patient. And once any payment is sent out, whether the payment is going to the caregiver or not, a letter goes to the caregiver letting them know this amount was paid to this individual and this is how much you have left in your grant. And there's also a reminder on there if they are getting close to their grant expiration date. Um, with most of our grants, like I said, we give that 90-day window, and most of them can be extended if a caregiver just kind of finds themselves in a situation that they can't extend or that they can't use their grants. And in most cases, we can extend it. All I have to do is call and I can put the extension in. The only exception to that is when we come up to the end of the fiscal year for our CareLink grant. And this fiscal year is, well, the CareLink fiscal year is July to June of the following year. So that just means that before the end of June of each year, all invoices and logs have to be paid out. So there's only a certain point in June that grants can be extended because I do need time to get those invoices and logs processed before the end of that fiscal year. So 99% of the time we can extend your grant. There's nothing wrong with that. But with CareLink, as we get close to the end, we do have some dates in there that we have to meet. And of course, that's communicated multiple times with the caregiver as we are kind of coming up to the end of the fiscal year, which we are kind of slowly going into right now. But like I said, it's all communicated with caregivers, and we try to make it as clear and simple as possible. A few things that I like to just remind caregivers and even, social workers, providers, anyone who is kind of giving this information to those family caregivers, just make sure that every line of the application is completed. We work hard on creating these applications and keeping them as simple as possible. If a question is asked, which is usually just mostly demographic information, it's because it's very important and we need to know. So if a line or something isn't completed or filled out, it just delays the approval process. So just make sure every line's filled out. If it's being asked, it's because it's absolutely necessary that we know for recording purposes. None of our grants are income-based, so it doesn't matter how much money a family makes or doesn't make. That income is never verified. It really doesn't matter if it is asked. It's just for purposes so we know where this money is going and kind of the demographic of the population that it's going to. But it never dictates if a family is going to be approved or not. Any correspondence regarding the grant is going to go right to the caregiver that's applying. So nothing is sent to a provider, nothing is sent to the patient. Any kind of correspondence that's going to come from me is going to go directly to that family caregiver. And that's because they are essentially in charge and kind of in the driver's seat of this grant. So who they choose to use or not use is really just kind of up to them, and they kind of manage it the way that they see fit. So any correspondence is going to go right to that family caregiver. And just as a reminder, if a caregiver is using someone that they know personally, just make sure it's an adult over the age of 18 and that they don't live with the patient. I know it's a lot of information.
It is. Now, that was going to be my question about the age. Like, do they have to be over 18? That was something I was thinking about too.
Yeah, just has to be a legal adult. Mm-hmm. There's always a reminder on the logs, but just make sure that a copy of their ID is sent in with it. If caregivers don't have a way to copy it, we have a way for them to take a photo and text it to our work line. We keep it so simple. It's just it's just the easiest thing in the world. We try to make sure that this isn't just another kind of hassle on a caregiver's plate, because we know their plate is already overflowing. So we do
have a drop box in our door. So if we're not here, you can always drop it off after hours, and you could always tell Amanda, hey, I dropped it off, send her a quick email or a phone call just to make sure that we received it and kind of follow up and call. I do have a question. What if a caregiver gets a grant and their loved one passes? So what do they do then? How do they contact you and go through that?
Yeah, so oftentimes they'll just call to let me know. if they, and then at that point, I'll ask if they were able to use any of their grant up to that point. If so, I'll tell them, go ahead, fill out the log for the days that you had someone come in, send that to me, even if it's just a partial payment. I'll go ahead and process and get it sent to them. If it's a situation where they haven't been able to use any of their grant yet, that's fine as well. I'll go ahead and close everything out on my end, and we can actually reallocate those funds to another caregiver. So it actually, it helps us to know if their loved one has passed, because we are able to, we can add another caregiver to that list. So yeah, it's just a matter of just calling me and letting me know, and I can process partial respite logs or invoices up to the point of passing. So it's easy.
Good. So what are we doing behind the scenes regarding grants?
So the past few months, we've been working with our executive director, Carolyn, and our board on getting our FAP funds available. We don't have a date yet, but hopefully it'll be soon that we'll be able to offer FAP funds. And we know there's a lot of caregivers that are waiting for those funds to come available. And for those who don't know, our FAP grant is our Family Assistance Program grant. Those funds come directly from donations to our organization. So every fundraiser that we do, any just donations that are sent into us, those funds are going towards this FAP grant. And this is that grant is a $350 grant that caregivers can not only use for respite, but they can use for anything that helps alleviate their caregiver stress. So utility bills, incontinence supplies, specialty chairs, grab bars. We've had
special washers and dryers before.
What's that?
We bought washers and dryers before. Like
yes, there's so many different things that that caregivers can use that money for. So, we're working on getting those funds raised so that we can offer that grant again, like we do every year. And then we've also been working very closely with the Alzheimer's Association as well as DHS in getting some legislature passed to guarantee funds for family caregivers. So that's kind of working its way through the court system right now, and hopefully we'll be able to send out those details and help even more caregivers than what we're able to now. So there's a lot of things going on outside of processing grant applications, and we're so excited.
Yeah, I think we all are excited about the upcoming events with DHS and association. It's definitely been a good journey with them and been a very kind of long one.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. So once we get that money, I'm sure we're going to have to be very excited to share with everyone.
Yes.
All right. Is there any other information that they'll need for grants to kind of that you know of?
The only other thing I can think of is sometimes we have caregivers that their loved one may already be receiving some kind of government help in some way. And if that's the case, most of our grants, that doesn't matter. The only grant that it may affect is if caregivers are approved for the CareLink grant, and that's only affected if whatever assistance that they're getting comes from the same pool of funds as the CareLink grant. So what I always tell caregivers is, I don't know until I run everything. So it doesn't hurt anything to go ahead and apply. The worst thing that'll happen is I'll send them a letter letting them know they're declined for, whatever the reason is. And then at that point they'll know. But any of our other grants, that assistance isn't verified or looked into, and it really doesn't affect their eligibility. So, it really kind of opens us up to be able to help especially those caregivers that may not meet that income requirement to qualify for Medicaid, but still can't afford to pay for a caregiver. So we try to help those middle families that kind of don't make that can't meet either side. So so and if caregivers do have questions, all they have to do is call and we can kind of talk it over and see kind of what's the best route. But usually just go ahead and apply and I'll let you know otherwise.
Can caregivers apply for multiple grants at once, or is it just one at a time?
So each patient can only have one grant open at a time. But if it's a situation where it's a caregiver who is caring for both mom and dad, that caregiver can have two separate grants open, one for mom, one for dad. But there can only be one grant open per patient. And even though most of the grants have some kind of eligibility time frame in between when they receive that grant, but there is no there's no time, like a certain amount of time that has to pass between different grants. So theoretically, someone can get a DHS grant, use it in a week, send me the log, I'll close it, and the next day they can apply for another one that's open. So there's no time restraint between different grants, just the same grants.
Okay, good, good. So one caregiver could have two different patients with two different grants.
Yes.
In the same household. Okay,
yes.
Good. So what about Medicaid assistance?
So usually if someone is wondering about how to apply, we usually can refer them to different organizations and resources that can help them do that. And I know there's a lot of different places out there that help with that Medicaid assistance. And I think oftentimes it's free for caregivers to get that help. So if the caregiver is looking to see if they're Medicaid eligible, apply for Medicaid, kind of get all that ball rolling, just reach out to us and we're happy to get them in touch with those resources and those people that can help.
Good, good. I don't see any questions. Do you see any questions or anything? And if anyone has the comments.
Let's see. Okay, so Patty, yes, there is a grant comparison that's on the website. If for some reason you can't find it, just send me an email, the grants@alzark.org, and I'm happy to get that put out there, or I'm happy just to send you the PDF. So just let me know if you can't find it, and we'll get it set up for you. And let's see. And then Patty also wants to know if there's going to be a lunch and learn in Baxter County.
Baxter County, where is that by? Well, besides the three we have, we're currently trying to have one in Mountain Home. So that's currently the one that we're working on now. But we are always open to facilities and people coming and saying, hey, we would love for you to bring this here. And we will definitely try to do our best as long as we have community support and engagement, because we definitely want to hit everyone. We want to make sure that we service all of Arkansas. We want to make sure we service all of Arkansas. And that really is our main focus. And so if you know anyone or if you're interested or anything like that, please always reach out to us. And we could kind of figure it out. Even if we know someone in Baxter County and we're like, hey, we still able to do lunch and learns. Even just kind of talking to one person can kind of lead to way more things than that. So yeah, hopefully we'll be everywhere soon enough. But we just started.
I said that she's in Mountain Home.
Oh yes! Oh good, yay! Yes, I would say I'm going up there probably next month or next few weeks, and so hopefully there'll be one coming up soon, and I will definitely let you guys know and post it on Facebook and social media, and get an email. So, and hopefully we'll be able to meet you, Patty.
Yay! Good. All right. Well, that's all I have for grants.
Well, thank you guys for watching us, and kind of, this is fun and new and worrisome, but I made it. I'm a people person, but not a Facebook Live person. So, well, if you guys have any questions, please call us, email Amanda. She is fantastic with grants, and she's gotten every single question that you could ever think of. So no question is silly or stupid or anything. Please ask no matter what.
Yes.
Y'all have a great day.
Bye.